Welcome back to the Daily Taoist podcast with Will S. It is approximately 5:05 a.m. on a Tuesday. I just looked outside this morning and it snowed overnight. Nature does what it's going to do. We really have no control over it. Today on the podcast, I'm going to be talking about Verse 9. The Tao Te Ching was written around 2,500 years ago by a God-realized being named Lao-Tzu. It is one of the oldest texts in existence and certainly one of the wisest. Its wisdom is timeless, and its message is as relevant and important now as it was back then, if not more so. It is vital that we learn to come back into balance with the natural world, to live in a more harmonious and selfless way, and the Tao Te Ching beautifully instructs us in bringing ourselves and our lives into alignment with the Tao. Verse 9. It is easier to carry an empty cup than one that is filled to the brim. The sharper the blade, the easier it is to dull. The more wealth you possess, the more insecurity it brings. The more you care about other people's approval, the more you become their prisoner. Do your work, then step back. This is the only path to serenity. Less is more is clearly the lesson of this verse of the Tao Te Ching. Again, it is a notion that runs counter to the pervading values in our society, in which most people are obsessed with getting more wealth and security, more possessions, and more esteem. In the eyes of others, it is easy for us to fall into this trap, because it's the way we've been conditioned and socialized since we were children. But perhaps it runs counter to our true nature, and certainly, as Tao points out, it can create more problems and suffering than does satisfaction and fulfillment. The more we have, the more we have to lose. Even when we have to make it in the world, our satisfaction tends to be fleeting because we then become terrified of losing it. And as such, being the nature of life, at some point we inevitably will lose it. Any attempt to grasp at things and create lasting security and permanence is ultimately futile, because life is characterized by impermanence, and this is the nature of things to be fleeting. Yet Lao-Tzu isn't suggesting that we shall abandon all doing. Instead, he advises that we do our work, which might mean whatever is in front of us or whatever we love or feel drawn to do, and then step back, being unattached to the fruits of our labor. With this detachment, life becomes a joyous dance in which we no longer engaged in the stressful grasping that characterizes so many people's existence. We can be at peace and enjoy whatever comes our way without continually trying to force things to be different. When your cup is full, stop pouring. It's easier to carry an empty cup than one filled to the brim. The sharper the blade, the easier it is to dull. The more wealth you possess, the more insecurity it brings. The more you care about other people's approval, the more you become their prisoner. Do your work, then step back. This is the only path to serenity. I like that line. The more you care about other people's approval, the more you become their prisoner. Kind of talked about this yesterday in my art, communication, and leadership course, and how some people tend to change or bend themselves to other people's ways of being instead of just existing. And I've always been an outlier in the fact that I really couldn't give a care about what people think of me. I really don't. You can either take me or leave me, but either way, I really don't care on my end what people think of me. Your approval to me is meaningless, to be honest, and I will not be a prisoner to your own machinations, and no one should, honestly. You need to be your own person, have a unique identity, and you need to do your own work and then step back, not take on other people's garbage. As I like to say, I call them garbage dumps. We tend to take on other people's garbage a lot of the time. But you need to deal with your own garbage, and then you need to walk that garbage to the trash and get rid of it. Because hanging on to your garbage and then trying to pack on other people's garbage on top of your garbage is just a recipe for disaster. If you want to live a harmonious life, you really need to consider just taking a step back and just watching the flow of life and start seeing the cycles of your own thoughts, seeing the cycles of other people's thoughts. There's a good quote that I just had yesterday is, I'm gonna have to bring it up real quick, but basically the gist of it is that if you're gonna argue with somebody, then you need to ask yourself a couple of things. Okay, and it kind of basically goes. The gist of it goes like this. Before you argue with someone, ask yourself, is this person mentally mature enough to grasp the concept of a different perspective? If not, there's no point to argue, right? Their cup is already full and they can't take on any more. It's really that simple. All right. Well, this has been a little bit of a longer one. That's okay. Thank you for listening to me at The Daily Taoist. I have a website, www.thedailytaoist.com. You can buy me a coffee there. I'm on Instagram at _daily_Taoist. I now have a Discord group where I talk exclusively about Tao Te Ching. And yeah, it would really help support me and the future community of daily Taoists that I'm trying to build. If you could join the Discord group, you could retweet, share this episode on your social media. And the more we get people behind this thought of, Taoism and coming into alignment in the way of the way, the more the world will start being realigned with its true nature. All right, as always, I love you all. This has been Will S., the Daily Taoist. Namaste.